So our next speaker is Dr. Pooja Sharma from CSIR, Chandigarh. She will be talking about how to make an effective research outcome presentation. So Dr. Pooja, I'll like to request Professor Basit to introduce Dr. Pooja to the audience. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks again, Dr. Sabrina. Dr. Pooja is working as a principal scientist at CSIR, Central Scientific Instruments Organization. She has done her PhD in Engineering Sciences from the Academy of Scientific and Industrial Research, New Delhi, and MTech in Nanotechnology from the Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. Her major research interest includes materials design for hydrogen production, water or air pollutants degradation, and water pollutants monitoring. She is currently working towards the synthesis of smart heterostructure and hybrid catalysts, engineering for their catalytic sites, as well as addressing their scalability challenges for commercial applications. She has shown an excellent publication track record and published around 82 research papers in high-impact journals, edited 7 books as lead editor, and published 20 book chapters. She has also filed 3 patents, 2 design registration, 2 copyright/trademarks, and developed 4 technologies, 2 of which are transferred to the industries. She is also a recipient of several prestigious awards and fellowships. She is currently serving as a core committee member of the Indian Young National Academy of Sciences, INSA, New Delhi. She has also represented India at several international platforms, including BRICS Young Scientist Conclave and Shanghai Cooperation Organization Young Scientist Conclave. Besides her research activities, she is involved in various science outreach activities. Microphone is over to you, brilliant and beautiful Pooja. Please start your speech. We welcome you.
Thank you. I hope I'm audible, Dr. Basu.
Yes.
Can you confirm?
Yes. Yeah.
So, first of all, I would like to thank organizing committee for giving me an opportunity to talk upon this topic related to delivering an effective research presentation. And I believe this kind of events definitely would help the students as well as early career researchers. So I have framed my presentation mainly to cover 3 aspects of making research presentation in terms of the general presentation skills, like making a presentation in terms of the formatting it. Then what are the important points one as a researcher one should take care to present the major finding out of their research. And also I try to briefly cover the last aspect of the presentation, which is very commonly used in scientific community, that is a poster presentation. So this is basically an overview. If I say I'm more going to talk about the formatting, delivery, content, and lastly poster part. So when we talk about making a presentation of research, why we make presentation? Either we are basically sharing our new findings with our peer community, or we are building collaboration, or we want to create awareness amongst researchers. So, or maybe it could be some presentation you are making for some funding or some awards, such kind of platforms where you have to make a presentation. So there are different reasons why when we have to make a good or an excellent presentation to make the purpose fulfill. So when we are making a scientific presentation, it could be generally categorized in 3 categories. The standard one is a PowerPoint presentation or a presentation in a form of a lecture style, which we generally give in classroom or in the kind of conferences or such kind of webinar like right now we are conducting. The second could be a poster presentation, which is like a semi-formal kind of thing, where you can interact more with your person whom you are interested with, like your collaborator, or you can spend more time with discussing with your collaborator. So it's more or less like kind of a semi-formal presentation. The last category is the elevator pitch, which is mostly used in mainly by the entrepreneur or these companies, where they have to put forward their ideas, their novelty to raise the funding for their projects or the company. Many times it is also used in research community, especially at the students level. So that is like you have to present your work within also in informal seconds, within 20 to 30 seconds, or maybe in the form of a single slide or as a kind of a few liners. So since I said I'm more going to talk about the content of the presentation, style of the presentation, and delivery. So these all three of them are equally important to meet the target of the reason why you're making a presentation. So when you are making a presentation, one should ask question to oneself that why should I put time in making a presentation? What is my purpose of delivering the presentation? And the audience, who are my audience, and what do I want to convey to my audience? And what do I should be caring what my audience will think once I am done with the presentation. So it's important for me that I should take care of the way I'm presenting the content, the way I'm putting the content, or in terms of the legibility, spellings, grammars, and the kind of data we are putting. And we have to put it in such a way that my presentation should be self-explanatory. It should speak itself instead of presenter has to read and then explain it to the audience. So we have to think these questions back in our mind whenever we are delivering any kind of presentation, be it a research presentation or a general presentation. So these kind of points we have to take care in building the formatting the presentation. So covering the first part, that is the format part. So there are certain things, certain mistakes which we do, or maybe students generally do as a novice in this particular field. So there are certain set of examples I would like to put forward. The first one is like a proper organization of the space. So there are certain example I have put here that it's important we utilize the space judiciously onto the slides we are making. Like say if we have to present certain set of figures or certain set of images, we should not be putting too much images on our slide that distract the audience and they are not able to connect what you want to say. So it's rather better to use maybe 2 or 3 images. They should be properly labeled and there should be a proper connect between the images. So space organization is an important factor that we should care about. So that's why I put it like a question, why should I care about space organization in any kind of presentation one is making? So this is another example where you can see this is also not a very good example. There are a lot of images which are placed onto the slides. So it becomes difficult for the audience to get connected what a presenter is trying to convey, maybe as a title slide if I talk about. Then second mistake which generally presenter does is putting too much text onto the slide by thinking like let the audience read what I am going to say. So audience is not here to read what you are on your slides. They are here to what is your explanation. So it's better. So we should take care of this particular aspect, not putting too much text into the slide, like in form of whole paragraph, and we are reading it one word by word. So these are certain. I have seen such kind of mistakes done by maybe novice people or the early, the students in first few years of their research. So these are certain important things we should take care. Then another, the text which you have, like you have information, you want to convey it. So putting it like a paragraph and putting it like too much text, it's better we try to use these smart tools which are available with us in the PowerPoint, and now with the internet there are so much templates which are available by which you can present your data in a more effective way. So you can see on my right side, this is a better example of presenting the data than the one which is there on the left, which is more in the form of text, and it becomes difficult for the audience to connect what you're trying to explain. So try to use these smart tools, try to reduce the text which you are putting onto the presentation and go for more like a graphical or a pictorial mode of presentation. Then another important factor or the mistake which is done is the visibility of the text or the font size. So whenever we are using a font size, it's important that we should bother about that the person who is sitting in the last of your hall or the classroom where you are delivering the presentation, it should be able to see it. I'd say we should be able to understand it. So in this example, you could see this is one of the bad example, which is the slide is loaded with too much text and the font size is very small that it's very difficult for a person to see in the last. So the text visibility is the important thing one should take care. Then if we want to emphasize on to say certain major findings in our research or major statements we want to make. So many times what some people do that they use too much combination of the colors to highlight certain content. So if we use more than one combination of colors or use a bad combination of color, it loses the attention. Actually, it distracts the audience more. So it's important that we judiciously use the right combination of the color and try to avoid utilizing more than two colors in a single slide if we want to highlight an important findings and important text of our research. So that's another suggestion. Then font size, I already told about it. There are some examples for one to differentiate between the right size, like your font size should not be too big or should not be too small. Say if I take an example, if we are delivering a presentation in a conference hall and it's a very big, the ideal size would be like using a font size around 30. If it is more, your hall is bigger, try to use a font size above 30, but not above like 34 or 35. So the selection of a appropriate font size is also important, and the font style is also another factor which I have not listed it here. So don't use like a different kind of fancy font styles. The standard practice of utilizing in the presentation is either Times New Roman or the Arial. Like we have seen the previous presenter, they have their presentation were neat and clean and clear. So that's how we have to like, especially for the research presentation, it's better to avoid the fancy font styles. Then one important factor that we need, like I told in my first slide also, do not use too much images also. Too much images also create too much confusion because the connect is lost. So don't use too much illustration, maybe limited illustration, and try to connect it with the text or the bullet point or the explanation, or try to use a combination of animation over here if you want to make a story or if you want to make a connect. So by animation, you can have uses of multiple illustration in a presenting in an effective way rather than putting all the illustration single time in a single slide. So why this formatting is important? So the formatting is very much important so that your audience gets connected, and at the end they should not be sleeping and just waiting when you are going to end the presentation. They rather should be feel awake and then think about like what take away messages I am taking from their presentation or from that particular slide, or they come up with some questions in their mind. So that is what the overall purpose of the presentation the presenter is making. So formatting is important. Now, say if you are done with the good formatting, you have made an excellent presentation, you have used the excellent tools which are now available with the Microsoft PowerPoint and the different platforms onto the internet. The another important factor in making an effective research presentation is the delivery. Sometimes there is a statement which is a comic statement which says that like PowerPoint doesn't kill the presentation. Many times people do. Say if you have your thesis presentation or your research presentation, or if you have some talk and you have planned it in a very systematic way, you are going to talk about yourself, the background of the topic, the motivation behind, the methodology, results, conclusion, and you have defined the time, how much you are going to put on it. But many times it happens in the real scenario that could be could be several reasons behind it, like some you are putting too much time onto the introduction, then you get less time onto the result discussion part, and at the end you're just rushing through the slide and you're just abruptly closing the talk. So these are certain things which happen, which are the part of the delivering. So this important factor when we are making a presentation is the delivery part, that how we are delivering the presentation effectively. So there are certain set of mistakes which a presenter do. and we should take care about these standard things which generally get overcome by practicing. So for a good presentation, it's important to practice. That's the mantra in the beginning. So once you are seasoned researcher, you're seasoned presenter, then it comes automatically to you. So there are certain set of suggestions here. Some presenter avoid like having an eye contact with the audience, so better not to do that. Try to have a good eye connect so that you can get them engaged, and don't try to have an eye contact only on one side of your audience. So try to cover your whole stage, or try to connect with the people who are sitting on to the both side, maybe right, left, or the middle. So try to have an eye contact with your participants. Don't read the screen word by word. Like I said, the audience is not here to read what you have presented into the presentation. They are here to listen you. So don't read the presentation or the screen word by word. Some presenter, what they do, they try to unknowingly also they block the screen, and that creates a kind of mystery for the audience. They are not able to see what presenter is trying to show. So avoid doing that. That also creates some kind of a funny situation. Some presenter, like some mistakes which is done by the presenter is like talking very fast to complete the whole slide. Like this is also more or less connected with the point number 2, where the presenter is trying to read the slides, so he tries to speed up. So if you talk very fast, it becomes difficult for the audience to gain what message you want to convey. Putting up too much slides also creates such situation where the presenter has to speak very faster. And don't skip the result. If you are confident about certain findings, important findings you want to discuss with them, or there are certain findings which you feel that you need more discussion, more inputs, try to put those results. Avoid skipping the results. Better not to put them if you feel that you have too much slides or too much content to present. So put only effective results which you want to present in the research presentation platform. Don't skip summary and confusing slides. This generally happens when the presenter is putting a lot of time onto the introduction literature part. They generally skip the summary and confusing part. So don't do that. That is also called as an abrupt closure of the presentation. So try to have some time onto the summary and the conclusion. That's what the audience is going to take. One suggestion here for the presenters, like if I'm, even though I'm also, since it's a webinar, so very less connectivity or very less interaction with the audience here, but if it is in a more as a physical mode, try to have a dialogue kind of a presentation where you can put pose question, like you can put question to the audience, can get them engaged. It depends more totally onto the how much time you are given to present. So refrain from monologue, like you are speaking, and this happens if you have too many slides and you want to cover those slides. So it becomes more like a monologue and less engagement for the audience. So in the physical, it's better to have a kind of a dialogue kind of thing. Try to engage the audience in the presentation. So whatever all these suggestions in terms of the formatting or in terms of the delivery, the end result should not be that your audience is talking more about your color combination of which you use in the presentation, what you are wearing, or they are just waiting for the presentation to get over, or they are sleeping. I think this is not what you want. This is not the end result you are looking for when you are making a research presentation. We are looking for this kind of outcome where you may find some good collaborator, or you may find some good students who wants to join your group, or you may find some new research direction, answer to some of your questions. So this is kind of outcome you are looking from the presentation. You are making a different platform. So for that, you have to definitely work on to the formatting, content, and definitely the delivery part. Now there are 3 simple S which in an oral presentation, if I now talk about 3 simple S which we have to follow, is the strategy, the structure of your presentation, and last the style. So the strategy and structure I already covered, like what is who's your target audience, what is the purpose of your communication. In the structure, you can use different tools, how logically you're utilizing the space, text, font style, and how you're presenting the information. And the style is more or less body language, like in terms of the eye contact, good use of your floor, good use of your body, and good use of your hand and face gesture. So these 3S1 should follow for making an effective presentation. So please take care of these 3S, 3 mantras, I can say: strategy, structure, and the style. Now coming to the content part of the presentation for a research presentation. So previous speaker talked about the publication part, and even at different platform, even if you talk about, there are certain standard content for especially if you talk about a presentation related to some research and development. So like starting from the title slide, then you have an outline of the presentation, then you where you can say in the along with that, I have also mentioned the how many slides you should put. Like for the title slide, you should put 1 slide. And the presentation outline, again 1 slide. Then background, novelty, or short intro that you can combine. You can try to finish it in 1 or 2 slides. Then state of art and hypothesis, these are an optional thing. Like for the students, these are very important topics to be covered, but maybe for the researcher community or the faculties, they may skip it. So state of art, like what has been done in this particular field, you can apprise the field if the person who are not aware of this particular. And then what is the hypothesis you are making? Like you have created a background, and then you're proposing a hypothesis, and to prove that hypothesis, what kind of objectives you are framing. So that could be one thing you could frame, could present as a 1 single slide. Then what methodology, or you can say design of experiment, are designed to realize your objectives. Then you can put maybe 3-4 slides for your findings, for the interpretation of your data. So that could you may put like 4 to 5 slides, which is a major chunk of your presentation to show your result, to discuss your result. And the last slides could be also known as the free slides. So these slides more or less focus like posing the questions to the audience, acknowledging the people or funding agency collaborators. At the end, there could be a like closing questions or comments kind of thing, which comes under the free slides. The references and citation part, generally there are 2 formats, but I prefer to use citation along with these slides. That's a better way. That's a more effective way, rather than putting a lot of references at end of the slide. Better connect the references or citation along with the presentation and at the bottom. So this is, I think, more effective way, but I think every researcher has their own presentation style. Now I'm trying to give an example of each content I'm talking about. So like you see the title slide, it should cover your topic, your name, your qualification, your the date when you're delivering the presentation or the platform, and try to make it more concise and more appealing, because this is the start, and start is always very much important. So the title slide, this is an example one can follow. Then when we are talking about outline, like I said, the outline is an optional part. You may use it or you may not use it. Mainly for the student community, this is, I think, a good practice to frame the outline, like what you are going to speak in your presentation. So it should cover your background, your problem statement, what are the challenges, what objectives you have framed, what are the results. You can discuss those, and then you can conclude it. So this is a one example of putting the outline of your presentation. Then when it comes to the introduction part of your slide or the problem statement of your slide, so you can see here on the left side there is an example where one problem is defined, and it is presented more in like a paragraph, which is not a effective or a good way of making presenting the problem. Rather, try to cut down the information in the form of the bullet points, which is more appealing. So you put the major points in the form of the bullets, and you can rather discuss it, you can rather explain it. That's a better way, effective way of putting the introduction or the problem statement to the audience. Then the hypothesis and objective part, I think I believe everyone must be aware of the hypothesis. So this could be your null hypothesis or the hypothesis you made in terms of based what statement you are making. It could be a one-liner statement where you propose something that this may happen, this may not happen, or it may, according to that, we categorize the hypothesis. And to either prove or disprove the hypothesis, we frame the objectives. So here is an example. You can see that how could you structure your objectives in a very creative way, in a more effective way. And so this is something one can use, and try to use use 2 to 3 or objectives to support, like by which you want to support your hypothesis. Then comes the methodology part or the design of experiment part. So in the methodology part, we generally talk about what set of experiments we have designed, what set of procedure we have utilized to carry out that particular study, what set of equipments we have used, and what kind of statistical tools, statistics or data analysis technique we have used. So this could be covered in a methodology part. And here we can use, take benefit of the animation, by which you can very nicely, very creatively show your experimental procedure, how you have done. Say, if I'm talking about synthesis, you can very nicely use animation here and show your synthesis procedure and your end product. So in maybe 2 or 3 slides, you could cover the methodology part. I think maximum 2 slides should be enough for the methodology. Then like for the result discussion, I said you can use maybe 3 to 4 slides, depending upon how much time has been given to you to make the presentation. So put your major findings. So I'm not putting the example for the result discussion part, but the suggestion over here is put maybe 2 to 3 major findings, major figures in your result slides, which you want to discuss, and show the, what kind of behavior or trend you are getting, and try to have the data with good statistical analysis with all the standard deviation error bars including in your study. Then when it comes to the conclusion side, so like I said, as long as the first slide is important, which is the start, the end is equally important. So end is also where we, so you are trying to engage the audience even up to the end. So conclusion is also very equally important. So it should be very short and specific. It would be better if it is a one-liner, and try to conclude your work in the form of 3 to 4 bullet points. And if you have some kind of effective illustration, you can use that could be more effective. And maybe you can give some specific conclusion and try to connect it with a broader message which you want to give to the audience. So when it comes to the acknowledgement slide, generally in this particular part, we acknowledge our funders, we acknowledge our collaborators, institute for the carrying out the research work. And it would be better if we add your contact information, your website link also along with the acknowledgement slide or the end part of your slide, so that if the audience want to connect you at the end or after the talk, they should have your contact information ready. So this is a very good practice one can adopt along with the acknowledgement slide. So overall, if I summarize what I discussed about, so the content is important for your research work which you are presenting. It should have, you should be able to give a bird's eye view of your project that covers in the introduction part, then the literature, then the new findings and what future direction. Then clarity and organization of presentation is very much important. That I talk in terms of the formatting, what are the important factors one should take care while making a presentation. Then third factor is style and delivery, how you are delivering the presentation, how you are making best use of your body language, your platform which is given to you, how you are able to engage the audience. And last, not the least, the expertise of the presenter is definitely of utmost importance, so that it can build the confidence in the audience, credibility in the audience, and so the expertise of the presenter is important. So when you are making a presentation, try to practice for it, try to read about it, try to deliver before the actual presentation, so that you can get used to it. Now, there are certain general don'ts and don'ts one should adopt in making an effective research presentation. So don't think just like a speaker, think like an audience, like if you are sitting onto the other side of the table. So keeping that in mind, you try to make the presentation. Don't read text from the slide. I talked about it earlier. Don't end your presentation very abruptly. There should be a smooth beginning. There should be a smooth ending. And so don't rush away into the last of your slides. Avoid distractions, and don't block the view of the screen. That sometimes that happens unknowingly. And don't, one very important thing is sometimes when there is a Q&A session, don't lose the temper while answering to the question. Instead of arguing, you can take it very humbly. You can try to answer. If you cannot answer that particular time, you may you can request the questionnaire that you could answer it lately. You can give your contact, so that way don't lose temper while you are into the Q&A part of the presentation. General do's I already covered. Plan your presentation in advance. Use more illustration, less text. Use a very consistent template. Check for the grammatical errors. Your title of the slide, it would be good if it is catchy. Use a sufficient large font size. It depends upon kind of hole where you are delivering the presentation. So you can have a range of the font, like for a big hall, I said about 30. For a small classroom, it can be 18 to 20. Use standard font style instead of now, one question which may come, that how long your presentation should be. So depending upon the platform where you are presenting, your presentation could be say 10 to 15 minutes. So generally, if I talk about the students where they make their oral presentation, they are generally given like 10 minutes. Or if you're giving a online, invited talk, it could be say 15 to 20 minutes. So accordingly, your slide should be in the number of 20 to 25 slides. And it's always better you stick to the time which is given to you and do rehearse before the final presentation. There is a feature in the PowerPoint tool where you have an option of rehearse presentation. So where you can record the time and you can find out how much time you are taking in delivering the presentation. Now I'm coming to the last part of my presentation. That's a poster presentation. I'll not spend much time here. So the poster presentation is, I said, like it's a semi-formal mode presentation. You can interact more with your collaborator, potential collaborator, or the potential student. So you should make an effective use of this form of presentation. So there are certain set of templates which are used in making a good poster presentation. Like there are certain set of tools I listed here, like PowerPoint is very widely used, and Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign. These are the tools which are used for the designing the poster. That there are open source alternative like OpenOffice, Inkscape, GIMP. And if you want to make the creative charts and diagram, there is another tool which is open source, Glyphy. You can use that. So this is one example, which is a bad example of a poster. So you can see there's a lot of content, a lot of text has been placed into the poster. So it becomes very difficult for one to like read through it. And then you can see the, logos are placed, highlighted over the title. So instead of title, the logos are getting highlighted. So these are certain things one should take care, avoid doing this thing. And this is an example which is much better than the previous presentation, previous poster. You could see there they are trying to show the content in more graphical way and like less text. And so this is a better way by which you can create your poster. This is another example where they have improved significantly, where they are trying to connect the poster results in a more graphical way. So when we are making a poster, one thing we should take care that it should be self-explanatory. Why it is so? Say if you are not present at your poster at certain set of time and someone is visiting your poster. So your poster has to be self-explanatory. So you have to try to put the content and say if you are using the graphical representation or the images, they should be labeled very well so that one can read through the result, one can try understand the poster even if you are not present at that particular set of time. So this is the difference between a poster presentation and an oral presentation. So these are certain set of do's for the research poster, what should be like the title should be of 60 to 85 font size points, then the headings, the caption, the font style, the background, the color combination. These are the certain set of rules which you have to, which we adopt for the PowerPoint presentation. these set of all the instruction we should be using for the poster presentation also. One important thing which we should take care in the poster presentation is the breathing space. So because you have very small space and you have to put everything in that particular space. So don't make it very crowded. Give the breathing space, say one set of headings if your introduction or then your objectives or the experimental, there should be a breathing space in your poster. It should not look very crowded. So this is the important thing when we make a poster, it should be taken care. So this is my last couple of slides. So there are 5 W's in we should follow in making any presentation, be it a oral, be it a poster presentation, that who I am going to speak with, who is my target audience. It's a student, it's a faculty, or it's a higher level funding agency platform. So according to that, you have to plan your presentation. What kind of tools I should use, like I discussed about some tools which can make my presentation more effective, more appealing. Where I'm presenting, that's important. What platform you're presenting. When should I stop? So timing is important. So you have to effectively utilize the time given to you. And the last but not the least, why am I presenting? So you are putting effort to make a presentation, your time, and so you want that effort should fruit in something. So this you should take in mind. Why am I presenting? If you take care of that thing, you will put effort in the content, formatting, style, delivery. So these 5 W's are very much important for delivering the presentation. So these are some take-home messages when you are delivering. Be clear, be loud, at a certain set of, while you're delivering the presentation, try to pause, like instead of going through one rhythm, try to pause, try to have you low pitch or high pitch. Practice, practice, practice. That's the key to become a seasoned researcher. Express your enthusiasm of research, what you are doing, so that they feel connect with you. Repeat the key messages which you think that you want to convey and which your audience you should take. So that's the important thing. And one suggestion over here is that all the presentation platform, like conferences or this kind of webinars, the purpose of all these presentation is that you want to connect with your potential collaborator. So keep that in mind. Try to build a networking at this platform and try to build networking at the breaks, mainly like tea, coffee, or lunch break. And if you find some good potential collaborator or a person to talk about, try to write that person within a 1 week of as a follow-up for the conference, so that it remains fresh. So with this, I would try to I conclude, and I thank organizers again for giving me an opportunity. So this is my last slide. So presentation is just not a combination of slides and like lot of text putting it. So you are not here to read the text. This is what you want to convey your findings to the peer community. And since it's your research, your enthusiasm, your efforts, your baby, how you want to deliver it, it depends totally on you. And so the audience is not here to listen your literature. It's more or here listen your research, your experiences, insights. So take care of all these things so you can definitely deliver an effective research presentation. So if there are any questions, I can take now. If there are any further question, you can write to me or you can reach to me through social media platforms. So I listed all the links for the social media platform. So thank you. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Pooja, for such an wonderful speech. Yeah, it was really amazing, and within a short span of time, you did cover almost everything. So I really enjoyed, and we'll definitely ask audience ask you questions. So they can write in the chat box or they can raise their hand. So prior to that, I have one point actually. You in one slide you have shown a relationship between time and the number of slides. This is really necessary, right? I ask my students, it is always 1.5 times. If time is 10 minutes, then not more than 15 slides. So each slide, there should be some message. When you show some slide, there should be some message in each slide. No slides are less important, or no slides are much more important compared to the other. So there should be, yeah, it is a very important thing you did cover. And another thing, just another actually frustration. Sometimes we see that our senior researchers like us, we take much more time, right? And when we give any invited talk or keynote speech, we take much more time. So the chair or co-chair cannot stop us. So eventually, our young researchers, they become loser, and they are very enthusiastic, and they were allocated 10 minutes time, so their time is reduced or is cut off. So that is a really very bad practice actually. So for you, I will also request all the researchers or all the speakers to actually to follow their allocated time and not to take much more time. If someone asks me to speak to deliver an invited speech by 10 minutes, I should prepare to speak by 10 minutes, not by 11 minutes. So what I can cover by 10 minutes, that should be presented. So okay, so there, please ask your questions to Pooja. She's very experienced and she has lots of expertise. Please raise your hand or write in the chat room, please. Anyone? Any question? Okay, if there is no question, actually, Pooja, just we can make some discussion actually. So this is just 5 minutes. You did cover everything actually. So one idea which is in our country, it is the junior researchers think that so poster presentation is not very prestigious like oral presentation, and sometimes they request the conference organizers to allocate them time for the oral presentation. But I personally think that poster presentation is much more interactive and much more challenging. So for the junior researchers, if they present their work in poster, they get more time for interaction, and also they get the suggestions from the expert researchers, which might be very helpful for their future research. So for the future research. So please, what is your suggestion about poster presentation, particularly to like it for the young researchers?
Yeah, definitely. I also said this in my presentation. I think the poster is more, oral is more kind of a formal presentation. You are given a fixed time where you have to present, and you get very less interaction. Definitely, you can connect to more audience. That's an advantage to an oral presentation. But say if you have certain set of identified people whom you want to collaborate, interact more, you can bring them to your poster. You can in the tea break, coffee break, lunch break, you can bring them through your poster. Your presentation may not be there like for full time, but your poster will be there for the full time throughout the conference or the platform. So I think you can make better connect, better interaction. So it's not taken as like, demeaning thing if you're getting a poster presentation. Try to take this an opportunity, try to, get benefit of it by where you have to put extra effort, I think, in the poster presentation, that you have to bring people to your, to show your research. So that's extra effort you have to put. So one thing I missed to mention here. So always try to take an initiative to introduce yourself instead of waiting like someone would ask me who I am, what I'm doing. So to build a better networking or collaboration, it's better you take an initiative, introduce you to your potential collaborator, bring them to your poster and discuss what are the important results or anything you want to explore further.
Thank you, Pooja. Is there any question? Then could you say something about reference in poster presentation? Yes, there is a question in the chat box. References in poster presentation.
So this I also said in my presentation itself. See, different presenter have different style, but personally I feel that it's better to put the references at the bottom of your slide. That can make better connect rather than putting all the references in the back of your slide where you list so many references at the end. So my suggestion is connect it with each slide at the bottom, at the footnote, you can put it.
Okay, thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions here. So just another your idea. So when students present their their thesis for a particular degree, for example, for MSc or MTech or PhD. So they are really scared, and on that day, actually, they cannot perform their usual performance. They cannot show their usual performance. They are a bit nervous. So we always believe that when a supervisor recommends someone for defending his thesis or her thesis, yeah, supervisor is more or less sure, yes, he or she will obtain the degree in that situation. And if it is not so, supervisor will not recommend him or her for presenting her final defense, right? So just would you please say our young students that they should not be scared and they should do very good. They should nicely and in a relaxed mode, they should present their research in the defense. So in your own way, Pooja.
Yes.
I'm not professional like you.
No. You are doing even better than me. So I think you are already experienced. So what my suggestion here is, I think there are two reasons which I feel, which a student feel like scared of. Like one could be the language, where they feel that they don't have the command on the language. They are not able to convey it very well. Sometimes it becomes like, so I think be confident on what you are presenting. Language is not the base of your science. So science has no language. So you should be confident on whatever mode of language you want to present. So that's an important thing. Second is that practice is definitely very important to become a seasoned presenter, I would say. So once you need to practice a lot if you are like as a beginner, and at the research lab, I think all the supervisors do it. They try to make the students have comfort in delivering the presentation. So you can have the mock presentation in your labs. You can have like regular meetings in the lab where the students get an opportunity to present, so that the student can overcome that shy factor or the fear factor. And I said that there is a tool nowadays, there are so many tools available. You can record your presentation, you can see, you can evaluate yourself. So there are many things. So practice is the key to overcome the fear. And I think confidence that's required. So convey your things, that because that's the work you have done, you have put time on it. So convey it very confidently, and you are expert of what you're presenting.
Thank you, Pooja. There is another question in the chat room. How many sections should we include for scientific poster? Any standard format?
Generally, in a standard format style, you have introduction part is there, then your experimental part is there, then result discussion, which you can subdivide. So you can put more emphasis onto the result discussion part. Like if you have like these are three sections, major section I talked about, besides the title and all those things, which is a standard part. Then you can put the conclusion, major findings, and then references and acknowledgement. These are the standard sections which are used in a standard format. But some conferences, they they have their own format where they ask you to put the abstract also. But nowadays, I think it's not generally adopted. This practice is not generally adopted. So these standard headings which I told, this is how you can present your poster effectively.
Okay, thank you, Pooja. Last question from my part is for experienced researchers. So when I work as a reviewer for any donor, actually, for the donor, so I see that some researchers, they place their proposal, and during their presentation, they make some over commitment, which are actually not bit realistic, considering the time and capacity and the available facilities they have. So what is your suggestion or comments to become realistic and to do the commitments which are possible? Otherwise, all the reviewers actually they can understand it very easily that they are making over commitment just to get the grant. So this is not a good practice. I feel so. What is your suggestion and what is your advice?
Yeah, I think this is this is a problem with all the researchers, I think, in all countries. Overcommitment, sometimes. But say you are passionate about your making commitments, but there's many times you don't have that kind of infrastructure, that kind of support also, that you can execute it in time. So that's okay. Instead of putting, say, multiple objectives, multiple, these are the things which I'm going to cover in my project. Maybe you can reduce them down, you can curtail them down, important things you can focus upon, and based on that, see, research is a continuous process. It's not that like you finish the project and your project is over, your research is over. So you have say completed 2-3 objectives in one set of project. So you have built a base, and from that you can fetch other projects. Don't try to fetch everything in one single project. So that is what my suggestion is. So try to cover some major objectives in your one project that will become a base for your next project.
Okay, so I think there are no other questions, and thank you very much, Pooja. Almost 1 hour you spent with us, and it was an wonderful time, and really enjoyed it. Audience enjoyed it, and it's a good record for us also. So, with your due permission, we will serve the record to the audience. And finally, I'd like to thank you again. Just another question or there. Would you please answer it? How the introduction part of the poster be concised?
Yeah, so in the introduction part, like I shared some template of the posters. Don't put text, too much text into your introduction. You can put some bullet points and you can make the graphical presentation. Try to make best use of the tools available with you, like PowerPoint. Now, you have so many formatting styles. You have so many platform available to make your graphs, charts from your data. So try to take benefit of those tools so that you can put concise information into introduction rather than writing the text, because nobody is going to read the text. So that's way you can make it more effective.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks again